Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Information Week Fast Chat, redefining trust and risk in a modern digital workplace and marketplace. I am Bill Klamer, contributing editor here at Information Week, and I'm really excited about this chat. Joining me today is Christy Milani, Chief Marketing Officer and Go-to-Market Strategy over at Telesign. Christy, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Bill. Excited.
I am excited as well. If people could only hear our pre-call, stoked.
I know.
Pretty stoked.
Should have pre-taped that part, right?
I know it would have been a fun conversation about Star Wars. Sorry, not sorry, everybody. We are limited on time, so we are going to jump into this wonderful conversation. Hey, if you are on your Amazon shopping list, get off right now and just tune in, because everything that we're going to be talking about is critical. Now, hear me out for a second, everybody. Trust, at least today, is much different than ever before, right? User behavior is riskier, and we're seeing how malicious actors are going after new targets and they're exploiting trust. Actually, Christy, during our pre-call, you and your team said it best. In a digital era where we are the product, trust is the currency. So think about that, everyone. We're going to dive right into this conversation. Now, Telesign most recently did a really interesting research study, and you just published Yeah, that's right. You just published those new research findings, which actually, after reviewing those, there were some pretty surprising things about demographics of online fraud. Christy, I'm going to stop talking for a second.
Yes.
I want to hear, what did you learn from that survey?
So it's been two parts already. So the first part that we talked about was really that role of trust, as you said, that currency that you can't actually see or touch, but you can feel, and what the expectations were from consumers. The second half was also learning more about who actually the consumer is that's being impacted the most by fraud. And we look at it as this isn't your grandparents' fraud, because when people think of fraud, they're automatically thinking my senior citizen grandparents, my retired parents, that they are absolutely the attack. You can kind of envision somebody calls them, they give information, and then boom, they are a fraud victim. Not to say that they aren't, but what we saw was that the new demographic of 25 to 44 years old is actually 3 times more likely to be impacted by fraud. Now, part of this is a math problem, if you think about it, because they're spending 3 times, 4 times more time on the internet, doing everything, all of their business, multitasking, but they now are really becoming the front runners of who that new fraud attack is going after. Still impacting senior citizens, but we are seeing this really rise. And then also we're seeing that more women are becoming impacted as well. Again, if you look at the stats, women are more likely to be using their mobile phone more than 3 hours a day. People who have children are also starting to become higher impact fraud victims, whether it's the child itself or whether it is there's a lot going on in the house, lots of devices. The last time I checked my mobile router, it was, you have 72 devices. Clearly, I need to start deleting some devices, but you think about how much time we're spending, and it just exposes us even more, unfortunately.
My goodness, Christy, you brought up some really fascinating findings in that couple of statements alone. Millennials are in the crosshair. Oh my gosh, my generation's in a little bit of trouble here. And you brought up a fascinating point there that I want to dive into this next question for you here. Not your grandmother's fraud. I really, that's gonna stick in the back of my head, and something I'll use that statement. But
Right.
If we look at fraud today, right? I mean, obviously the post-COVID era was a perfect storm for some of the things that we're seeing. But I'm curious, and this is a two-part question, because the second part of it I think is really important for everyone to hear about. But what is the role of trust in an online world today, knowing how much time we spend on there? And there's this new concept of continuous trust, but there's common missteps that businesses stumble on when they're trying to implement this. And what are those? So I guess it's a two-part question. What do you feel the role of trust is today in an online world? And how do you implement continuous trust without some of those common missteps?
Right. So the role of trust is that it just needs to be there. it has to be there. That's the continuous trust side, is that from the beginning to the end, from onboarding to the customer engagement, the nurture of these customers, the account growth. As you and I were talking before, I sort of equated to, if I was in a retail, it was a brick and mortar store, and I'm shopping at Macy's, and I hand my credit card over and somebody comes up and swipes my card, I'm not responsible for that. Macy's is responsible for that. They need to help me get my card back. They need to go after the crook in that case. And so it's really not any different from an online perspective, where we're seeing the expectations are 94% of the people that we surveyed said that's the responsibility of the brand. So they have kind of this innate trust / assumption that they will be protected, and the brand is the one that is responsible for bringing that. And so when we say continuous trust, it's not just at the beginning and then let happen whatever happens to the accounts, to the customers, to the data. It is continuously, right? We sort of look at it as kind of like the infinity loop of the entire customer journey. The expectation is that they can trust the transactions. When you see that trust is broken, it has massive impact on the brand, right? Unless you are a Target who might get one freebie and not have much impact from a fraud attack, people will go off and tell the world and say, you know what? I had a really bad experience on this website. Don't ever go back again. I had that happen. It was an attack that was towards my teenager. I made sure and tell the whole world, do not go to this website because their onboarding was shady. And then the upsell throughout was not a trustworthy experience. And so that's where the role is so big, because the minute that you lose trust, it takes you years to build it back up, right? Seconds to lose it, years to build it back up, if at all, in that case.
And so you bring up a really good point around continuous trust. And everybody listening, right, this isn't something that you just execute and throw it over the cubicle desk. Continuous trust means from start to finish, right? And so we don't isolate or silo that trust. But it's not always that easy, right? How would you, Christy, how would you advise businesses to best balance, for example, risk and appropriate friction while trying to keep their customers safe? Because it is a little bit of a balancing act.
Absolutely. And we call it facilitative trust, or facilitative friction, if you will, of there are certain questions it's okay to ask from that onboarding. The expectation is that you're probably going to ask me a secret question that only I'm the person who has the answer for. But when you start asking 5, 6, 7 questions, it's too much. And now you've lost me. Or it also feels very invasive. If you think about the private information that people share in that onboarding, and when I say onboarding, it's I'm signing up for a new account with an app or an online marketplace. You're asking me questions that even some of my best friends don't know. They don't know my mom's maiden name. They don't know what my first pet's name was. If you start to ask too many questions, you start to lose it. So where we do from a Telesign perspective is we have the APIs that are built in to help you with that onboarding, where we can actually in the back, in that continuous loop, help you identify this person doesn't look right. This person doesn't look like they are who they say they are. So we're going to go ahead and send them maybe another code to validate. So we'll let you get the good customers in, right? Our job is to help you keep the bad guys out. And the minute that we start to see that something looks off by using data science, lots of other elements that we kind of triage, we're going to let you then decide, do you want to let them in or do you not? But it's all in a very milliseconds, right? Checking and then serving up the reason codes and saying, all right, go ahead. But you can't just rely on somebody changing their password, somebody even remembering the answers to the questions, like which first pet? The one I had for 2 weeks or the one I had for 6 months? I don't remember. So by working in some of that, again, through that customer journey of the onboarding, the engagement along the way, I'm sending you a promotion code. Is it being used by a real person rather than a bot? And so that's also where that happens in the background. We want our customers, the B2B side, focus on the business, focus on the customer experience. And then we, or whomever's going to help support your fraud protection in the background, will focus on bad guy, don't let him in.
So on that note, bad guy, don't let him in, right? And you mentioned something really, really important, right? We can't hope that the user will always do the right thing.
That's
we
right.
have to facilitate some of that, right? And there was a really recent research study that was done, like even after a breach happened, a known breach happened, 40% of the people didn't change their password. So we know that hope is not a good strategy. So we have to align ourselves to create that level of trust. Now that's really interesting, because over the past 4 years, again, we've talked about this post-COVID era. It's been a perfect storm of data loss. What are some of the latest fraud trends that you've seen, and what do businesses need to be aware of right now?
So lots of trends in the sense of the fraud is a multi-billion dollar industry. It has been around, down to BC sort of levels in some form or fashion. So there's always something new coming out. What we start to see a lot of is fake accounts, right? Where somebody just goes in and creates a fake account, and the business starts to interact with them as though they are real, whether it is a bot, a lot of AI being used now, right? That you can create multiple fake accounts at a very, very quick speed and almost start to shut down a system because there's so much fake information that's coming in. That is also, again, from a protection standpoint, is we look at so many different vectors, if you will, of, is this phone number part of a phone number breach? Are you signing up in a place that you say that you're in California, but you're coming from Indonesia, right? Where you start to look at where are those anomalies that point out something is not right. And so that fake account side is just, unfortunately, it is 1 in 4 accounts are fake. So that's 25% of the traffic and the volume that you're seeing is just simply not real.
Yeah.
So that clogs the system quite a bit. You got to get that out. And then there's also the account takeovers. I don't know how many people I know that are victims of an account takeover. That basically means I'm just going to pretend to be Bill. And I've got access to your information. I've scraped enough to let people think that you're me. My poor mom had this happen. She called me. She said, don't accept any Facebook friend requests from me. Don't accept anything else. Like, Mom, what did you do? Nothing. Well, she did. She clicked on something that then shared the information with the rest of the network and helped create that kind of fake account. And then we also see, promo abuse is a big one. I mean, I love a good coupon code, but again, you get that AI, those bots in there just hammering the system when it's not real, yet they're still getting the benefit of whatever the promotion is or the giveaway. And I do think that a lot of this is the new technology that comes out that's supposed to help us as a business, Chat GPT, AI. It's being reversed on us because it's easier to create scale from a fraudster. We call them bad actors, where they can be in a lot of places at one time with kind of a push of a button. So creating that protection layer in the back that's constantly looking, going, nope, I don't think so. I think this is a bot. I need to know if you're a real person or not. You have to be paying attention to what's happening, not just at onboarding, but all the way through. Otherwise, they'll come in at different moments in time, if you will.
That's such a good point, Christy. And that brings us to the last point here. And what you said about AI is just so spot on, right? We're seeing these deeper, more contextual attacks against people and taking their identities. And it gets harder to spot, which is where you need this element of continuous trust. So on that point, Christy, I want to sort of, maybe I'll pop the little bit on Telesign, because again, we had a lot of really fun conversations about this. So I'm really curious on the context of continuous trust. How is Telesign helping businesses address the threats that we've talked about today, and really build an environment of continuous trust between them and the customers using these online marketplaces?
Yes. So we are partners with 8 out of the 10 biggest internet companies, helping them through all of what we talked about, whether it is onboarding, the engagement, just that ongoing life cycle. Mm-hmm. Now, to the point of the customers also have to take some responsibility or understand who it is that they're doing business with. And part of what we've created is our continuous trust authority program. That is, one of it is the survey, because we want to expose this data so people are really thinking about it. The second is a trust badge that actually would be something that one of our customers would put on their website. Think of it like a Good Housekeeping seal or a Visa certified, to where my nirvana state is that people come to a website, they look for something that shows that a site is trust certified. Mm-hmm. In our mind, being trust certified means that you have a good mitigation plan in place, that you have these APIs also installed so that your customers will be safe and that we're safeguarding their experience. But it's going to be that twofold, is that I want the customers to expect more from the businesses that they're interacting with. And then the businesses know, gosh, if they have that much responsibility that they're putting on us, again, 94% saying it's our job, we have to do our part as well. And then the third part of our trust authority program is an alliance, where we're going out and finding chief trust officers. That's a title now. That's a new C-level title, is a trust officer. What does that mean? What does that mean for them? What does it mean for the business? So getting that consortium together to really think about making sure Telesign is there and we're supporting your day-to-day pain points, but also making sure we know what a day in the life is. So let's all work together so that trust does become in the forefront and everybody takes it seriously, and you start looking for that badge or some sort of denotion that, okay, this place is safe. I feel good about doing business here. I do all my shopping online. I hate them all. I don't like it. I walk my dog in it. If it's too hot, that's the only time I go to the mall. So I get very far in a shopping cart experience, and then I abandon it when I feel, this doesn't feel trustworthy to me. It's probably fine, but they lost me by a variety of factors. The questions that they're asking, there's no HTTPS to show me it's secure. But this is my business for 30 years, right? Digital, online. So it's our job and our customers' job to start educating what we need our customers to be looking for.
So much great information there. You know what? My little bit of a gold nugget is to better understand this concept of continuous trust. And I challenge everybody listening, if that's a new term for you, get out there and learn a little bit more about it as well. Hey, if you want to learn more about Telesign, be sure to visit telesign.com or go to their LinkedIn page. It's going to be linkedin.com/company/Telesign. They're pretty easy to find. And on that note, thank you so much for listening, everybody. And hey, Christy, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.